Patrick Mahomes is basically God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
Live.
So on at it. What's hot? Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper and go get it.
It's Mahomes' house. And it is good. Woo! Arrowhead man.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Woo! Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. It's Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thank you so much for joining us. While you're here, real quick, if you wouldn't mind, click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe. Maybe consider turning on those notifications so you know when we go live. Help spread the word. Tell some Chiefs fans. Tell a friend. Tell a family member. We'd sure appreciate it. Got a good show for everyone tonight. No offseason in the CKL world, so we got plenty to talk about. Some player moves and some teams trying to maneuver the cap and trying to get ready for the draft coming up here in about a month. At the NFL Combine, we've got some good, just hilarious numbers and news for one of the division foes, one of the division rivals, and just the position they're in with a terrible trade. We'll get to that. Chiefs also make a move with JariusSneed and trying to re-sign Chris Jones. And then we'll talk more about the Super Bowl win, because why the hell not? When you go back-to-back and you get 3 and 5 years, you might as well get all the mileage you can out of it. So it's good to see everybody in the chat here. Looks like we got Laney and Chris and Maria. I imagine Brenda and John C. and the rest of the gang will be getting in here shortly. Before we get into too much of this, Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm being the Midwestern dad. I got a new smoker today, so we had some smoked chicken and some St. Louis style ribs. Just enjoying the off season, you forget like what Sunday is really like, without football until the season's over, and you're like, holy shit, I've got like a whole extra day off where like I don't have anything to do. But I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Doing real well. We're getting an early spring here in Kansas City. It feels like some warm, sunny days here. So grass is greening up. Although it was a weird winter, it never really got too cold for too long.
Yeah.
The grass was green like around town all winter. Kind of weird and different. But it looks like Big Doug and Freddie are in the house. Good to see you. There's John C. popping in. Good to see you all. Thanks for swinging by. Yeah, doing good. Just, still having a hard time believing this is reality as a Chiefs fan.
I know.
Driving around town, they've got the billboards up that just say, it's like the red background, the digital ones, that go through and cycle through the different ads or whatever. And it says Dynasty in big yellow letters and pictures of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on the billboards. And they've got the Super Bowl champ flags down by like the plaza and downtown and around town on the street lights and everything. Just a great time to be a member of Chiefs Kingdom. Going to enjoy every minute of it while it lasts here. John C. had a soft winter out there in CO. Good to hear that. Bo is still gone. So wherever Bo's at, you never know. Maybe he'll pop in the chat or something. But I think Bo will probably be back here in the next week or so to talk about some off-season stuff we got lined up for everybody. Some good conversations. I mean, the draft will be here before you know it, right? And that's usually like the beginning of April, and we got free agency. So
they've really turned the NFL into like a year-round deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like Super Bowl's over, time for the combine. Combine's over. Let's get ready for the draft. It's nice, but yeah, there's not a lot of stoppage in between.
Right. Well, I mean, there is if you're the Bills and you don't make the Super Bowl every year, but a little bit longer of a break for those franchises, but a little bit more of an off season for them. But
Raiders,
Yeah, exactly. We're going to start off tonight. Mr. Unlimited, Dangerous Wilson, the Denver Broncos is released by the team, or is going to be released by the team. In one of the epically bad trades in NFL history, the Broncos are going to be on the hook for an NFL record $85 million in dead cap hit over the next 2 years. I want to say it's like $35 million this year and $50 million next year. Oh, man, it's brutal. Not shedding any tears for the division rival, though. To me, I was looking at that and I'm thinking, dude, their dead cap hit next year is what Patrick Mahomes' cap hit is going to be to have nobody on there. Russ Wilson going to be making like $40 million off the Broncos for this coming season, not even playing. Now, some of that is offset, I believe, if he had the cash number anyway, if he signs or goes to another team, whatever they decide to pay him. But Russell Wilson isn't going to go out and get some big payday from another team. I saw
he doesn't need one.
Possible
he doesn't need one. He's getting $85 million, right? Like,
please land on the Raiders. Oh man, that'd be the gift that keeps on giving. So, Nick, do you remember when there was people talking about, Russell Wilson's going to the Broncos? They're up there and they're nipping on the Chiefs' heels. And there was another show that I used to be on, and they were talking about, they got Courtland Sutton and these guys on the Broncos, and they got Russell Wilson. I think it even went worse than we predicted, though. Would you say that's accurate, Nick? We were never fans of the trade. I was never worried about the Broncos and Russell Wilson, but it went even worse than we expected, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could see it after the first season, but yeah, when they first signed him, nobody was sitting there thinking after a couple of years and a losing record, they were basically going to cut bait and eat $85 million in dead cap over the next couple of years, right? I mean, dude, like nobody saw that coming. He'd only had one losing season ever as a starter.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just epically bad. And I think a lot of it has to do with their organization around Russell Wilson, not just him. Right. They thought they were going to get like another Peyton Manning deal where they're going to have a savior QB come in that was just like a Hall of Fame talent. And, it obviously just went just horrifically bad, which, while the Chiefs are like in the middle of a dynasty, to have that happen to a division foe, I mean, I'm not mad about it. So.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, I don't know that anybody, like you mentioned, thought that he was – I mean, I know most people knew that he was closer to the end of his career than the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people that still thought he had some prime years left here or just the tail end of his prime. His elusiveness and his ability to move around really escaped him. And you could see it in that last year with Seattle, right? The Seahawks obviously saw the writing on the wall and saw what was coming down the road there and were able to move him off onto the Broncos. He got a ton of picks and a ton of players in return for that, although they really haven't done a whole lot with that. I mean, they had a couple of 9-8 years, but they really haven't leveraged that into a whole lot that is really like made them contenders in the NFC, right? Hovering around 500, but never really a threat in the NFC West to the 49ers there in that division. It's been the 49ers conference over there in the Eagles the last handful of years. So Rams obviously were up there, but yeah, it's just, to me, when you're looking at Russell Wilson and wherever he's going to go, we called it on this show that it was not going to be something that the Chiefs really needed to lose sleep over. That did not close the gap between the Chiefs, but yeah, even epically worse than anticipated. Pretty hard to find a worse trade in NFL history than that one, right? Was just the sheer number of players and picks that the Broncos gave up. They boneheadedly gave him an extension on top of it too, without having watched him play a game.
Single snap.
Just the 50 to give someone 50. What was it? 5 years, $250 million extension on top of what? Maybe let the guy play a half a season before you do that. I mean, you've got him under contract. There was no need for the Broncos to give him the extension on top of the bad trade. I've heard some people say maybe the Deshaun Watson trade is worse or some other trades. I mean, Deshaun Watson's still on the Browns. They're not paying him $85 million the next year. I should back. They're not paying him $85 million. Having $85 million in dead cap hit over the next 2 seasons. Deshaun Watson looked like he was starting to play better there towards the middle of the year, and then obviously got hurt, and they brought in Joe Flacco, who helped guide that team to a pretty good record, and the team has a good defense. But can you think of any trades that went worse than the Broncos trade and extension for Russell Wilson?
No. And to your point, I mean, whatever the Browns get out of Deshaun Watson, they're at least getting something.
Yeah.
The Russell Wilson deal now, not only are they getting nothing, they're getting less than nothing because they still have all the dead cap money. So, yeah, I don't think there's been a worse trade. I think that, Twitter agrees with us based on everything that I saw. I think I saw like in the algorithm 40 tweets in a row that said the worst trade in NFL history, which is awesome. So kudos to the Twitter algorithm. But the real winner here is Sean Payton. He's got 2 years to suck and just it not be his fault. So
Excuses, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he can sit there and say, well, you guys gave me this bum quarterback that, was past his prime, was a problem in the locker room, wanted to have his own office and have his own people in here. He's a PR nightmare. Like everybody's laughing at him with like the Broncos country, let's ride thing. And then, so now we cut him. Somehow they're so bad that when they cut him, everybody is on Russell Wilson's side because they're just so bad at maneuvering the situation that everybody's sitting there like saying, well, you guys are like taking advantage of him, even though he's leaving them with $85 million in dead cap. And he's like, so now I have to eat that for the next couple of years. We know that the team's just not going to be any good. You're paying, like you said, you're paying for a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow on their second contract.
Right.
And you've got nobody. So I think that they're past where they've given up the draft capital for that trade now. So they at least have some picks, but I mean, you're going to have to, your odds are probably better than winning the Powerball than hitting on their pick enough to turn them into a competitive team. So
you think they're that good?
Winning the Powerball maybe twice in a row. So
yeah. And the division look outside of the Broncos is not looking great. The Raiders don't really have a quarterback. The Chargers have Justin Herbert, who, depending on what your opinion of him is, they're in cap trouble too, though, right? And they're bringing in a new coach. I'm not sold on the Jim Harbaugh thing. I know he was successful with the 49ers and took that team to a Super Bowl, but he's been out of the NFL for a handful of years. And with the way the cap situation is on that team for aging players that are at the end of their prime or past their prime, it looks like smooth sailing again next year for the Kansas City Chiefs and their conquest to become the first team to go back to back the unprecedented three-peat, which that would be. So the division to me is just somehow it seems like it can't get worse every year, and it just seems to continue to get worse. So we'll see what those teams do. Yeah. Another funny situation for a rival. I guess you call the Bills a rival of the Chiefs at this point, right? Even though we beat them in all the meaningful games. But I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, well, the other team has to beat you or win something every once in a while to be a rival. The Raiders are Chiefs' rival. Just because the Raiders suck and never win, I mean, they're still a rival. They're a division foe, right? There's a history there. So Chiefs have played the Bills in a lot of big games, and the Chiefs have won all of the big games, but they've restructured Von Miller down. They released Tre'Davious White, who people online would say, oh, that was the equalizer. That's why the Patrick Mahomes trade or the trade to get the draft pick to select Patrick Mahomes wasn't a complete loss and failure for the Bills and evened it out. No. Tre'Davious White's a fine player. He was an all-pro. Missed some time with injury, unfortunately for him. That's obviously out of his and the team's control. But when you trade away the pick that the team uses to get the quarterback who's right now on track, you don't really want to have the debate, right, about who's the GOAT, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes right now, because Patrick Mahomes has so much further to go in his career. But right now, he's ahead of Tom Brady in pretty much every measurement, every accomplishment that you could have. I mean, total wins. He's even on Super Bowls. He has more Super Bowl appearances, way more yards, way more touchdown passes, way more rushing yards. He's ahead of Tom Brady right now at this point in the race, matching up their two careers in their first 6 years or 7 years or however you want to call it, because neither guy started in their first year. So the Bills, they're struggling here. What do you think of maybe the Bills situation? I mean, they've got the quarterback position pretty solid there. I saw they brought in Mitch Trubisky as the backup to Josh Allen. So they're Josh Allen lowering the shoulder on a run away from having that at quarterback. Bills, you think they maybe fall off even more this year?
Yeah, we were talking about this before the Bills divisional round game this year, and it's really how much faith can anybody in that organization, in that locker room, have that they are going to be able to get past KC and have what it takes at this point, right? And at a certain point, they've got to start like not believing, right? Diggs, famously was watching the Chiefs after the AFC Championship game because he wanted to see what it was, he wanted to see what it was like, and
right.
And motivation, right? Yeah, and so now there's been 3 of those times where they've ended your season. Josh Allen is a really good quarterback, and so I think that they're going to be competitive. But this was their shot, right? They had the home divisional round game. I feel like they were on a hot streak, right? They started out 6-6, and so they you may say they weren't the best iteration of the Bills team, but the Chiefs also beat the best iteration of the Bills team in the 13-2 game. So
right.
They're going to have to start paying Josh Allen more money now. That those players are starting to maybe feel like, hey, we don't have the guy that's going to go down and win the game for you. And, you see it in that last drive where Josh Allen's going down there, and they've done a really good job of having him, take short stuff, throw behind the line of scrimmage, run when it's, pertinent for him to run. And then at the end of the game, he just goes into hero ball mode and basically loses the game for him, right? You can blame their kicker, but that was Josh Allen's prove it moment, and he didn't prove it. And so on top of the cap situation that they're in now, they've got to have some, people in that locker room that are starting to lose faith in their ability to win these games. So yeah, I'm not saying they're going to be a total decline. They're still probably going to be a playoff team, but I feel like their window is closing, if not shut, right? With the money that they've got to pay for Allen now.
Yeah, and also I believe Jordan Poyer was released, so that they're losing some key pieces on that defense that kind of took some steps backwards this season. The defense was definitely not one of the top units in the NFL that it had been the previous 2 or 3 seasons. So
yeah,
Bills failed to cash in on that. Chiefs did not fail to cash in on having a top 5 defense this last year with Patrick Mahomes. We said on this show for years, give Patrick Mahomes a top 5 defense and look out. Looked a little bit more difficult maybe because the offense had kind of come down to earth a little bit. Wasn't as high flying or as potent, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and you gave him a defense that, hey man, just go ahead and score 20 points a game and you're going to win. You're going to win a lot of games with Patrick Mahomes, and you're holding opposing teams to 17, 20 or less. And so, yeah, just these teams that are, I don't know, you stiffest, the main competition, looking and coming into this year. The Bengals, Joe Burrow, have seen some things with the surgery and the injury he had on his hand. The details are coming out on that.
Yeah,
looking like that could be a difficult injury to come back from.
Like lasts his whole career, right?
Exactly. And obviously no one's rooting for that. Joe Burrow seems like a good dude, right? A lot of this trash talk and a lot of the cockiness and the arrogance, the false bravado that comes from the Bengals, you don't really see a lot of that coming from Joe Burrow, right? He's pretty measured, and he goes out there and lets his play talk for itself. He doesn't need to really go out there and talk a lot of smack. So I'd like to see Joe Burrow come back and be good, but that injury is looking like that could be a bigger deal than maybe originally thought for him. in his career moving forward. So Chiefs, you think with the draft and maybe if they can get another wide receiver to complement Rashee Rice, bringing some players back on that defense, another top 5 unit next year, right? They're not really losing a whole lot of key players off of there. We'll get into that here in a second. So it's looking good. After winning the Super Bowl, things just continue to look up for the Chiefs and what's going on in the division and the AFC. We just talked about the Chiefs and they're coming back, right, for the three-peat coming up this season. They do place the franchise tag on JariusSneed, have granted him permission to seek a trade. Do you think the Chiefs find someone willing to give up what they're going to require to move off of JariusSneed, Nick?
I think it really just depends on what the offer is, because the way that that non-exclusive franchise tag works is if somebody's willing to offer him a deal, the Chiefs have to match it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that the offer has a lot to do with that. If teams know that they're going to have to give up draft capital to get him, that probably lowers the offer somewhat as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that he's a premium player at a premium position, and so the Chiefs also don't have a history of paying people in that position long term, and they've drafted it incredibly well. Like we posted a video a while back, so if y'all haven't seen it, you can go back and look. Should we pay Jones or Sneed? Is a snip from one of our earlier shows, and really what I said was I think that they should pay Chris Jones because they kind of have a solution for JariusSneed already on the team with McDuffie, and they could draft a cornerback, and McDuffie is really coming into his own. And I mean, he played incredible in the Super Bowl.
So, I mean, all season, but yeah, you're right. Super Bowl especially.
But there are teams that don't have, a good cornerback and have cap space. Maybe, you look at like the Texans, right, where they've got a guy on a really good quarterback on a rookie contract. Some of these teams, it would be really attractive to get a shutdown corner that can really, I mean, you like we were just talking about it. You limit the other team's scoring potential. It just lowers the bar for what you got to do to win games. So do they have someone that's willing to offer it? If the Broncos are willing to do what they did for Russell Wilson, they'll probably be able to find a trade partner for JariusSneed. I mean, there's a team that is, even if we're asking a lot, that's probably willing to make a bad decision to get him. I mean, that's just the way it is in the NFL.
Yeah, JariusSneed is the definition of a lockdown corner this last year. The guy had over 90 targets, right, or at 90 targets without giving up a touchdown. No other player that had been targeted 70 times or more without giving up a touchdown. The Chiefs, they seem to be able to just kind of seamlessly go in and find guys, even in later rounds. I mean, JariusSneed was not some guy like a Trent McDuffie where the Chiefs moved up in the first round to get him. And they got a Charvarius Ward, and they've got some of these other guys that they've brought in and have been able to be serviceable. McDuffie being on his rookie deal, that gives him some leverage there and the ability to, I don't want to say replace JariusSneed, but he can kind of step into that number one corner role, and you can bring in another guy or maybe have another guy that's on the roster right now step up. They've got Dave Merritt's one of the best position coaches in the NFL. The guy, it amazes me that he hasn't probably gotten run as a defensive coordinator maybe somewhere else.
Yeah, they thought he might go to San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe he's happy here. Maybe he likes doing what he does and likes the organization. So I'm not privy to the conversations whether other teams have seriously contacted him or considered him for like a defensive coordinator position. But they've shown that they have good coaching and can go in and bring guys in and fill that role. The defensive tackle position is harder to fill. Also, defensive backs seem, when they lose a step, right, just the nature of the position and the quality of the receivers that you have to cover in the NFL, once you start declining just a smidge, a little bit, you really fall off kind of fast in that position. So I think the Chiefs are probably factoring that into maybe prioritizing Chris Jones over JariusSneed. I'm still holding out hope that Sneed comes back and plays for another year and plays on that franchise tag. I think it's 50-50 in my estimation that he comes back, but we'd love to see the guy back because it's just
would you pay him top money at his position to come back?
I mean, if I had the cap space, maybe if I'm a team that's not paying like a Patrick Mahomes $40-50 million a year, or a Josh Allen or one of these guys, yeah. But I don't know.
I'm talking as the Chiefs. If you were in Veach's position, would you give him that type of contract?
Man, that's a tough call.
Because the franchise
Probably
on him is what, 19 million next year?
Yeah.
And then with the cap going up as much as it's going up, you're talking the following year it's going to be even more, right? Just because the pie's bigger. So
yeah. And when we talked about the Chris Jones or JariusSneed thing, we kind of discussed I try to tag one and sign the other, right? And so the Chiefs have obviously put the tag on JariusSneed. Fingers crossed that he comes back and they find a way somehow to keep him here in Chiefs Kingdom for this coming season. Chris Jones seems like the more JT.
Don't be
I don't
taking
know why you bring that comment up on the screen, Nick. JT, don't worry about stealing more of our players.
He's our guy.
It's good to see you, JT. Thanks for swinging by, man. Hope all is well without you there on the East Coast out there in the Carolinas. Feels like Groundhog Day. Chris Jones watch again.
Oh, sure.
The Chris Jones thing has been one of the most fascinating player stories with the Chiefs in recent memory. The guy last year, are they going to get a new deal done? Are they going to get an extension done? And does he hold out? Does he play games or not? And then he sits out and has the weird game where he's watching from the suite with his agents who look like two goons from like a Lifetime movie or something. and he comes back and plays and somehow makes his money back through bonuses and winning the Super Bowl and winning the AFC Championship game. And good for Chris, man. I never wanted Chris to lose out. We talked about he got bad advice from his agents.
Yeah.
And just because you get bad advice doesn't mean you have to take it. But when you're paying an agent, that's why you pay an agent, right? So you don't have to make those decisions. They kind of tell you what you should do, and you lean on them. So maybe he's got some poor representation there. Maybe he wants to look at that moving forward. But Chris Jones' watch continues. There was a report, I want to say it was Ian Rappaport, saying that it'll be a surprise if the Chiefs don't get a deal done with him. No news in the extension. Chris Jones, obviously, at the Super Bowl parade, said he wasn't going nowhere and he was staying in Chiefs Kingdom. And everybody in the crowd cheered and applauded and feels good about Chris Jones. Now the nervousness seems to be creeping back in a little bit on social media that a deal hasn't been announced yet. Chris Jones, Nick, how are you feeling about the Chiefs and bringing him back?
Shit, dude, like I don't even want to talk about it.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I think they're going to get a deal done. I think, like you saw the impact that he had in this postseason. I mean, it was huge. Like him and Trent McDuffie and JariusSneed all made plays, but him and McDuffie made plays that essentially saved the Super Bowl and then allowed us to go win the Super Bowl, right? So I think that they're going to get a deal done this year. I think to John's point, they need to sign him early. I think that what happened last year was they kind of were waiting for this Patrick Mahomes deal to get redone, and I don't think that went as fast as they wanted to, and that ended up screwing up that situation. But I think they're gonna pay him. I think that they've freed up some cap space with MVS leaving. The cap goes up a ton, right, this year. So they're gonna be able to pay him. So I'll say this here. So if you don't know, Academy Sports has all of their Super Bowl merchandise 50% off, or at least they did. So I kind of did some splurge spending here. We've got some people in the chat. We've got, I think, it shows like 136 people watching us on Twitter right now.
That might be a record. So if you're watching us for the first time, click like and subscribe, please. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So here's the deal. So I bought this just because it was stupid cheap. This is a 40 ounce, like one of those Stanley type cups, Super Bowl LVIII. If anybody that's watching the show right now can either in the comments here or on our Twitter account tag us, say what date they think the Chris Jones contract or release will happen. Whoever gets closest to that day, I'll send that cup out as a win. So. Yeah, so I have no idea, man. I don't even want to comment on it because, to be honest, like I kind of felt silly. We just kept talking about it. We're like, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, it's got to happen. And then all of a sudden, me and you were going to the game against the Lions, and Chris Jones is in the crowd. So I don't even want to speculate, but I do believe that they will get a deal done just because you saw how important he is to the team. I mean, he's like you've said before. I mean, he's the Patrick Mahomes of the defense from a skill standpoint, right?
Yeah, to replace a guy like that, I mean, he's getting Chris Jones. I've seen some people kind of scoff at the idea that he's a Hall of Fame player. The guy's got 3 rings now, and you start looking at some of the sack numbers and some of the accolades and the personal accomplishments and awards that he's racking up.
Yeah,
he's starting to get borderline Hall of Fame status, and Hall of Fame defensive tackles are so incredibly difficult, insanely difficult to find. Putting the franchise tag on Sneed to me almost guarantees that the Chiefs are going to keep Jones. I don't think there's any way they lose both of those guys, or they do the franchise tag, right, and risk losing Chris Jones. They don't already have some sort of deal. Who knows what the hang up is? It could be something silly as like, he wants $5 million more in signing bonus than the Chiefs are wanting to get, right? And so they just iron out some minor detail. Obviously, I'm not a Chiefs insider. I don't have any sources with the team or that are in or close to the contract negotiations. But to me, the other moves that they've made and placing the franchise tag on Sneed screams to me that the deal is going to get done. Tonight's Wednesday night. I think probably by the weekend or Monday at the latest, I think you see a deal for Chris Jones. What kind of deal do you think he gets, Nick? I mean, you think he gets 3, 4, 5 years? I mean, how far out do the Chiefs feel comfortable giving him a deal?
I don't think that with his age, they probably can do or will do more than a 3-year deal. I think 4 years is pushing it, and they're probably looking at, I'm guessing he's going to get average out like $32 million a year.
It's good money.
Yeah, he's worth it though.
No, I mean, the guy's earned it. I mean, when you look at this team, it's Patrick Mahomes and this dynasty run of Super Bowl wins going back to Super Bowl 54. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce, and it's Chris Jones, right? Those are the guys. You go back and look at the plays the guy has made. The Super Bowl 54 against the 49ers, he knocks down the pass that it looks like almost assuredly is a first down to George Kittle that kills a drive. You go back to last year's Super Bowl and the pressure and the plays the guy made. This year, the plays that he made, you mentioned. They've got – the 49ers have a receiver open down there in the flat run along the sideline. Chris Jones just rushes Brock Purdy and forces him into a bad throw, or else maybe that game looks a lot different. He's just a guy that knows when to make big plays, right? I mean, the big players, the best players, they show up big in the biggest moments. That dude does. I mean, there's no bigger moments when that guy decides to show up.
The AFC Championship game last year, the third down sack, Joe Burrow. Yep. The Super Bowl, 54 against the 49ers, he had 2 passes batted that were huge. There were people open, allowed us to come back and win that game. You could make an argument that without Chris Jones, we don't win any of the 3 Super Bowls. Legitimate arguments, right?
Yeah. Or definitely not all 3. I mean, maybe you lose 1 or 2, without his contributions. He also helps out a young guy like a George Karlaftis, who, when you look at some of his numbers, he's putting up Tom Bahali numbers in his first in his first stint here with the Chiefs. So George Karlaftis, he benefits from a guy like Chris Jones. How much does a guy like JariusSneed and Trent McDuffie too benefit from Chris Jones being able to collapse pockets and put pressures on the quarterback? Right, you don't have to cover as long. There's just so many ways that he impacts the game that the Chiefs really, really, really need to bring him back for this run at this three-peat. And who doesn't want to come back and try and do something that's never been done in the NFL? We talked this year that maybe it was a good thing the Chiefs had to go on the road, right? Because a guy like Patrick Mahomes and a lot of these players that have been on the team for 3 or 4 or 5 years now and part of this dynastic run, they've accomplished just about all there is to accomplish. The only thing that was really left was winning road playoff games.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like having to go play in Buffalo and then in Baltimore fired the team up, gave them a new carrot dangled out there in front of them, something to go out and chase, and had that chip on their shoulder. They've never won a road playoff game. Well, Patrick Mahomes never played in a road playoff game in his career.
If you don't count the Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think most people count that, even though it kind of was, right? I mean, I don't know if there's really any home field advantage in any Super Bowl. I guess maybe if you're like getting to stay in your house in your bed, right? You hear players talk about that. You're in your locker room. That's a little bit more familiar. But like the crowd, right, is people that win contests and a bunch of rich people that want to go just to say they've been there, not necessarily a lot of the fans of each team. So this team has the three-peat out there now. Something else that they can go out and say has never been done for a team that has pretty much done everything you could possibly imagine doing in a 5-year stretch. John C., it is. It was a year. And it was full of ups and downs and twists and turns. But ultimately, it ended in the same place it did last year, and the same place it did back in 2019 in Super Bowl 54 with the Chiefs once again being Super Bowl champions. First team to go back-to-back in 19 years. They say a generation's 20 years, right? So where do we think this Super Bowl win puts the Chiefs organization in like the history books or the annals of NFL lore? They're a team that had a rich history going into it, right? One of the original AFL teams, played in the first Super Bowl against the Packers, won the 4th Super Bowl, winning his team in the 90s, but they just never had the hardware to show for it. They got 4 Super Bowl trophies. They got 4 Lombardis in the trophy case in there now, and a whole bunch of AFC Championship game appearances. This catapults them into top what in NFL history as far as franchises? Top 3, top 4, top 5? Where do you think that puts them in? And what other teams would you say maybe, if you say they're top 3 or 4, what teams would you maybe put ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs?
So let me ask, are there any teams that you would consider with less than 4 Super Bowl wins that you'd put above the Chiefs?
Probably not. There might be a few that are neck to neck. Right? Raiders and Broncos got 3. Their original franchises. The Broncos have played in, 10 Super Bowls? Now they've lost 7 or 8 of them, but
yeah. I think that the Broncos have never had a number 1 overall pick, right? I mean, so yeah, I would consider. So okay, so we'll pull the Broncos up. That leaves what? So the Packers,
right,
and the Giants both have 4 Super Bowls,
right,
and then the teams with 5 would be the 49ers and the Cowboys, and the teams with 6 would be the Patriots and the Steelers, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, I would say I would put the Chiefs probably in the top 5 conversation. The reason that I would do that would be because I think that their impact of the history of the game is significant, right? Because of Lamar Hunt and him, I mean, helping be a founder and pushing to basically start the AFL, which created the merger. He's the guy that, they named the Super Bowl. So I know that there's like a big gap between Super Bowl wins, so that you have to account for that, and that's the reason that they're not probably like a top 3. But so that's where I'm. They're the only team that we've talked about this before that's won in the 14, 16, and 17 game era. I think that the 49ers with Joe Montana, they had a great run, right? And he was fantastic, and they were definitely the team of that decade, and they were a dynasty. Only one Super Bowl win since the salary cap, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even 0. I think the salary cap went in place like 94. Did they win in 93 yet? But
and they definitely don't have like the rich history of playing in the first Super Bowl or being one of the original AFL NFL champions, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, I would say probably 5, top 5. Yeah, I would probably. Who would I bump out? Because I also think that the Packers need to be in that.
They definitely do.
Conversation, right? I mean, the trophy's named after their freaking coach.
Yeah.
So
they've got 4. Won the first Super Bowl.
Right.
As you just mentioned, the trophy's named after Vince Lombardi, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra. They're a team that's won. Obviously, they haven't won in the 17-game era like the Chiefs here have, but they've won recently. Right? They won the first 2. They won one with Brett Favre, and then not too much longer after that, they won one with Aaron Rodgers. They're a team that has a rich history, goes way back to the beginnings of the league. So, yeah, no, they're definitely in the conversation.
I'd probably bump the Giants out of that top 5 then, right?
Yeah.
I think that the Giants, they're a great team, and they had cool stories with Eli Manning and beating the 18-0 Patriots and everything. But, let's be honest, those outside of that, like Eli Manning was not very good, and he wasn't even really all that good those seasons. They just kind of caught fire in the postseason, and it was almost kind of fluky how they won those Super Bowls. So, yeah, so I would say, Patriots, Steelers, Cowboys. I bumped the Cowboys down just because I hate the Cowboys, and we'll do 49ers and Packers.
Yeah. The Patriots, to me, is an interesting argument. They have 6 Super Bowl trophies, but they've all come within, the last 20 years?
Right, and they were a joke before.
They were a joke. They were a doormat. The Chiefs, they won more games in the 90s than any team. They didn't win any playoff games and didn't have any hardware, which is obviously a knock. But the Patriots were never winning a whole lot of games in the 80s or 90s. They were a team that until Tom Brady showed up and Drew Bledsoe gets hurt and Bill Belichick gets there, they've got 6 Super Bowls, but they don't go back, right? Historically. It'd be easy to just sit here and list them in order of who has the most Super Bowls, but I think when you look at the history and you go back and look at what Lamar Hunt has meant to the league, and we talked about naming the Super Bowl and playing in the first Super Bowl and being a member of the original AFL. And to me, I think top 4 to me right now is probably, I hate to say the Steelers because I hate the Steelers almost as much as I hate the Raiders, right? When you look at the hierarchy of teams I dislike, the Raiders are right there, number 1, probably the Broncos 2, and the Steelers 3.
Yeah.
But you got to give them their kudos. They've won 6 Super Bowls. They had their dynasty back before free agency and the salary cap, but they also won a couple Super Bowls in the salary cap era with Ben Roethlisberger. So that's a team I think you put up there as top 1 or top 2. I think you definitely got to put the Green Bay Packers up there. And one of those top ones. I know they don't have as many rings as the Steelers, but they're like 1A and 1B to me right up there. You could interchange those teams as 1 and 2. The Cowboys, They haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time, but they had a dynastic run. And they also, when you go back and look, and they lost to the Steelers, right, in some of those early Super Bowls, and they were a model franchise in the NFC for a long time. So I'm going to put the Cowboys up in there. I'm going to put we're talking history of the league, right?
Yeah.
I would bump the Chiefs up ahead of a team like the Patriots. I just think they have like a bigger claim when it comes to like the broader view and the history of the league. So, yeah, I'd probably go up there like Steelers, Packers, Cowboys, Chiefs.
No 49ers?
49ers, outside of that run where they had Joe Montana, what have they done?
Well, they won with Steve Young, and then they lost.
Yeah, they won one with Steve Young. But
I've been to 8 Super Bowls, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would listen if you wanted to put them even, or if you wanted to bump them maybe just a notch above. But their Chiefs are definitely a top 5 minimum, if not a top 3 or 4 historical team in the NFL. They get the three-peat.
Oh, they're going up the list.
That moves you up the list, right? Because now you're only one behind those other teams.
Yeah.
There's so much on the line for team, and there's so much on the line for Patrick Mahomes and his legacy this coming season. That's why this offseason is critical, that they make the right moves, man. That sounds like a spoiled ass fan right there. It's like, it's critical they get the three-peat, but man, like just think about what that will mean.
I suffered a long time. We
have suffered.
We've been waiting for days like this. So, what Cole? I think he's asking what's our take on the Raiders.
What do you mean, Cole? You're gonna have to specify a little bit more.
I think maybe like bumping the Raiders up that list. I think that if they hadn't had like the futility that they've had since they lost that Super Bowl to Tampa Bay, I might consider it. But I just think that
they've been irrelevant for 20-something years.
Yeah, the Raiders just for over 21 years, right? They really haven't done anything. So
they won all their Super Bowls in the 80s, is that right? Or
yeah, their Super Bowls are all 35, 40 years old, right? So we got John. He's saying Pats, Steelers, Cowboys, Niners, Chiefs, Pack, and Broncos. It's a good list, John.
Yeah, that's not a bad list. Like I said, I just don't. The Pats, man, like they don't go back. they don't. They got 6 Super Bowl trophies, which that counts for something. I'm not trying to say that, but it's too easy to sit there and rank them by who has the most Super Bowls and just put that in order. Like you got to look. You look at you go back to the Chiefs and Hank Stram, who is a coach that it garners a lot of respect. He was one of the first guys that to integrate the league, right? You hear a lot of credit given to him and the Chiefs organization for that aspect of it, and bringing guys into the league. So it's a good list. I'd like to see anybody else listen to it. Probably, Chris Jones to the Raiders. I don't believe that story. That to me is someone that is like just trying to get clicks.
Engagement baiting,
whatever you want to call it.
Farming, whatever they call that now.
Chris Jones is not going to go to the Raiders. The Raiders would have to pay him twice as much money as they have to give him 60. If the Chiefs are going to give him $30 million a year, the Raiders would have to give him $40 or $50 million a year to get him to leave Kansas City, and I don't see him doing that. So, John C. got his list. I'd be interested to see anybody else watching. Put your list up there. Maybe top 5 NFL franchises, historically speaking, not just Super Bowl wins, but overall accomplishments and influence and impact on the game and the league itself. Big Doug's asking an important question here about our man John V. John V has yet to tweet since halftime of the Super Bowl. We've reached out to John V through direct message and text message. our man Nico said that he was in the final stage of grief on last week's episode. So
he's reached acceptance.
yeah, I don't know. I hope our man John V is doing all right. I had a little fun trolling some 49ers fans, friends of mine that I met on a show that I started doing a few years before we started doing here at Chiefs Kingdom Live, Shant Club NFL. Our man Nick, who props to Nick for this dude's a 49ers fan. He's a UK guy. This dude loves the 49ers. He sent me, I don't even think they had done the trophy presentation yet, and he sent me a congratulatory text message.
Oh, was that like 4 a.m. his time or something?
It's 4 a.m. his time because, like I said, he's over in UK. He's in England. He's British. So kudos to him. That's a stand-up dude right there. To your team loses another Super Bowl to the same team they did 5 years ago or 4 years ago, however you want to add up the calendar there. So shout out to Nick. I don't know if he'll be watching this or not. Although he did promise me a special episode of Shant Club NFL if the Chiefs and Niners made the Super Bowl, and we didn't get it done before. I've been bugging him. I've been blowing him up afterwards saying, come on, man. You got to let me gloat. I would go on there and take the arrows if we had lost. So our man Cole saying he knew once the Super Bowl went into overtime, we had it in the bag. Yeah, that's – we talked about it, especially when the 49ers kicked the field goal in overtime. You knew at that point it was over because they gave the Chiefs a chance and Patrick Mahomes the opportunity to go win the game in regulation there at the end, and they didn't take advantage of it. You can't give a guy like Patrick Mahomes a second opportunity to put you away because he's going to put you away. He's gonna KO you, right? He's going to knock you out. So
I'm still really surprised that they didn't go for it on fourth down.
That's such a tough call.
I really don't
damned
think
if you do, damned if you don't, right? You kick the field goal and then they go down and score we discussed this and you and I kind of disagreed a little bit
last week,
how big of a mistake it was to take the ball to start overtime. That was the mistake. That was the key mistake. Not going for it. It was fourth and long. It was what, fourth and sixth? Fourth and six. Fourth and four. That's still long, man. It ain't like fourth and one or fourth and two. If you don't get it, you're giving Patrick Mahomes, 35 yards to get 40 yards to get into field goal range for the winner. Shanahan would have got skewered to no end if they go for that fourth down and don't get it, and the Chiefs get 2 or 3 first downs. And
he might have lost his job, but that's the only chance that they had to win the game, though. To be honest,
their defense not being the hallmark, right? Like top defense in the league, like it had been previous 2 or 3 years before.
When you just saw Mahomes only get stopped by the clock at the end of the game. It's the only reason they didn't score a touchdown in regulation and win it is just they ran out of time. And I just, was there any doubt in your mind that we were going to win once they kicked the field goal? Like, what was your confidence level that we were going to go down and score a touchdown and win the Super Bowl at that point?
In overtime?
Yeah, as soon as the 49ers kicked the field goal, like what confidence level did you have?
What do they say on like these hand sanitizers? 99.7% kills 99.7% of germs. I was 99.7% sure they were going to go down and get a touchdown to win the game.
So is there really I'm surprised more people haven't talked about his decision to not go for it there. I really, because I think everybody knew it. It's like the anti-analytics argument, right? Like, how was analytics not sitting there saying you're against Patrick Mahomes, so you have a 100% chance of losing if you don't score a touchdown there? Yeah.
That's a tough call to make. I still will say that's tough, man. You get a turn. They got him the Chiefs in fourth down, had him at 4th and 1, get a stop there, and the game's over. So, John C. is talking about being on a milk carton. John V. John V needs to come back and defend his honor, man.
Well, not only that, he's got to eat some Da Bomb hot sauce. I mean,
he's got to eat some Da Bomb hot sauce too.
I mean, a bet's a bet. You know, we're sorry that your team lost, and you know we still love you, buddy. But
we love you. We do love John V.
You got to eat the hot sauce.
We do love our man John V. He's the king of Ohio Niners fans, and I feel for the dude. He went to Vegas, and he went to Miami for the 2 Super Bowls. And to not come home with it, and just the sphere being lit up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs Super Bowl champions, and the front of Caesar's Palace with the huge arrowhead and LVII champs a graphic lit up on the front of Caesar's Palace. That city was, God, that had to have been not a fun place to be as a fan of the 49ers after the game.
Yeah, I you know, it's I thought about this when Bo bought the Super Bowl tickets last year. I was just like really excited for him, but at the same time I was like, what if we don't win? Like, I don't like it's crushing enough to not win the Super Bowl, but then looking at that credit card bill
to drop 15 large or whatever it's going to cost you to get in there.
Go. And Bo, you know, it's not polite to ask. We never asked him, and
I don't know what he's. I'm not saying,
but
I don't say 15
lower bowl at the Super Bowl, and like if you drop that kind of money, I mean, and you don't, and the team loses, right? Or like, I mean, could you imagine? Or like the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, where we, you know, we got killed. I don't know. So that's why, like, you know, after this last one, you know, my wife was like, all right, the next time the Chiefs are at the Super Bowl, like, we should go. And I was like, I mean, I've never loved you more than I love you right now. But at the same time, that would just be in the back of my mind, you know, just how crushing that would be. So, you know, we understand, John, but you know, it's been enough time. It's time to come back on CKL and eat the hot sauce, man.
And I also want to ask John V if he took Laney's advice and took some regular clothes to Las Vegas with him.
Yeah, Laney for the win on that one, huh?
Non-49ers gear with him, just like a, you know, like a Nike dry fit red shirt or something, or I don't think I've ever seen John V not wearing a 49ers hat. I don't know if he has any hats that aren't 49ers gear, but yeah, 49ers, man, you losing to the same team in the Super Bowl and that stretch. And they're 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Kyle Shanahan is a coach of the 49ers. They've lost both regular season matchups, so they got some wood to chop to catch the Chiefs. And maybe the faithful to the Bay crew there, maybe you can get to a Super Bowl where you don't have to beat Patrick Mahomes, but it's not looking like that's going to happen very often. And Brock Purdy, we've talked about him. I don't know if he's the one. I mean, he got the Super Bowl. To me,
he got it to overtime.
Yeah, he got it to overtime. Jimmy G got it to within 10 minutes or 8 minutes of winning the Super Bowl. But to me, the difference was it was clear. In crunch time, Patrick Mahomes made the plays and Brock Purdy didn't, right?
Holy shit.
I mean,
the man emerges.
Speak his
name, he appears.
Ears must have been burning.
Yeah, I never miss an episode. I have a hole in my heart bigger than Arrowhead Stadium. That said, I will honor the bet. Yes, I did, Laney. In my absence, I've never meant to disrespect anyone in the chat. Nah, John, we love you, man. We're just, you know, that's part of sports is talking shit. We just, to be honest, I was sitting there and I was like, hey, Scott, like, do you know that he's okay? Did he like end up in jail or something? Because, I mean, I haven't heard from that dude in weeks. I sent him like a DM saying, hey, you know, like,
yeah,
tough loss and everything. So, yeah, good to see you, John. I'm glad that you made a reappearance, man. We love you, brother.
Yeah, we've been seeing you in the chat, man.
He's alive.
He lives, and we get it, man. Like We lost with Chiefs. I mean, we lost the Super Bowl. We went through it to Tampa Bay. Now we had the luxury of having won the year before, so that helped soften the blow a little bit. But Chiefs got waxed in that Super Bowl by the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and the GOAT. And I was crushed because I wanted the back-to-back and wanted to beat the GOAT, right? Beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Wanted to knock that off. I mean, you look at the GOAT debate now. I mean, if Tom Brady's sitting at 6 and the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes had won that one, he'd be sitting at 4.
Yeah.
He'd only be 2 behind him. So, yeah, that was a bad loss, but really appreciate you showing back up, John V. You're a good man, and I'm going to get out there this year. It's going to either be for a Royals Guardians baseball game or that Chiefs Browns game. I'm definitely going to be at that Chiefs Browns game. What am I talking about? I might make it out sooner than the Chiefs Browns football game, but I might get out there for a Royals game. I got a bunch of vacation time I have to use up before September 29th rolls around. So appreciate the kind words, John V. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you were able to at least have some fun in Las Vegas maybe before the game. So come back on the show sometime in the off season. We'd like to talk to you and catch up and see how you've been doing. And you need to get Locker Room Rant going, man. My Tuesday nights just ain't the same without LRR. I miss that show. Funny as hell.
It's comment of the week right there.
Yep.
Lots of love for John B coming through the chat right now. It's good to see it. So.
Oh no, John V's popular, dude. He's more popular than me. I guarantee you that. He's got more fans of CKL than I do.
Yeah,
I would almost bid that. I don't know what John V is saying here.
He's saying when Greenlaw collapsed, right?
No, he's got something about a phone number. And he wants to.
Oh, I think he's saying just DM his phone number on Twitter so we can call him and chat.
I think he means like he wants to come on the show. You mean you're like
on the show right now, John? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. That's what I thought, but Nick didn't get that. that same message. So I don't know, but I mean, Nick can send you a link and invite you on. You can come on live if you want, man. I mean, it's up to you.
I don't know if he might be working, but
oh yeah, he might be working. I don't know. Is he off work by now usually? I don't know. I can't remember. We just showed him on Tuesdays, but I can't send you my phone, John, because I'm doing my show on my phone. So I'm doing the show on my phone. I don't know that Nick could do that or not, but John V. I'd vote for John V. for president. Guarantee it. 100%. He'd have my vote. We could run on the ticket. I could be his VP selection.
all right. I DM John V my phone number.
You made sure you DM'd it, right? You didn't post it?
Right. I'd hate for all those sex bots that follow me on X to
check your
start
DMs, John. Yeah, that was that the Dre Greenlaw thing was one of the more bizarre injuries.
We haven't seen it running onto the field, but as Chiefs fans, we've definitely seen those non-contact Achilles tears, and it's
right.
It's ugly. Oh shit, Youngstown, Ohio, here we go.
That's him.
John.
I think this is officially our first caller to the show.
Yeah, calling in live. Is he there?
Hello.
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, buddy? Hey, chat. What's up, Scott?
John B.
Guys, congratulations, first and foremost. You guys played a hell of a game, man. It's too soon, man. I'm crushed, guys. I truly am crushed. I was in Miami for that loss, and then I went to Vegas. Side note, I did not want to make Vegas miserable for my wife, so I definitely made the best of that trip. We had a good time. We really did. We enjoyed ourselves.
That's good to hear. Where'd you stay at?
Where'd you stay, John?
I stayed at the I stayed at the Rio. It was being remodeled by the Hyatt. It was really nice, actually. I enjoyed it. Had a nice view of the city and the Strip. It was a good time, man. I never meant to ghost you guys. I just I just needed to really get my mind right, man. This season was super special for me, man. I really I gave it everything I had as a fan. I literally gave it everything I had. And unfortunately, that's not enough to win a Super Bowl. But I did enjoy the season. I did lose to a formidable foe. I lost to a good quarterback, nonetheless, and a familiar quarterback. So at least if I lost 2 Super Bowls to the baby goat, then God bless it. It is what it is. But it's just hard losing a Super Bowl. You guys lost one and never looked back and never made it your identity. We just, for whatever reason, man, we cannot get over that hump. We can't finish. And I mean, there's no excuse. It's just, we played almost a perfect game until it wasn't enough. And that's what took the bull by the horns. You gave him the ball. He had, I knew that giving Patrick the ball, it was, and as you guys were moving up the field and just converting and I couldn't, I didn't overreact. I didn't spaz out. I didn't kill anybody, but I shook my head in just pure disappointment. I know why Shanahan didn't go for it. I mean, the defense had already been on the field long enough. If you don't stop them, it's huge. But to Nick's point, you lost the Super Bowl essentially because you didn't attempt that 4th down conversion. And you know, we've got work to do on our line. We've got a lot of work to do. But I don't know that we'll ever be back. I don't know that we'll be back in 2 years. I don't know that we'll be back in 4 years. I don't know. I mean, my Niner team is an older team. We're probably second or maybe the oldest team in the league by age. You know, some of our main men are up there. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, man. I just this week started to tune into a little bit of 49er content. I turned my back to a lot of it. I just needed to get over it, man. You know, I didn't want the kids to see me that way. So we stayed in Vegas, enjoyed the rest of the trip. I stayed till Thursday and just enjoyed it, man. We just enjoyed it. It really helped me get through the funky side of the loss, but I didn't want to bring it home to the kids. And
yeah, no, dude, I get it. You
know, I mean, but Scott and Nick, if you guys know me, man, I mean, football is everything to me. My Niners are absolutely everything to me, just as much as the Chiefs are to all of you, you know. And it's tough, man. It's tough. I have no excuse, but I will cash in on this bet, fellas. I have not in 41 years never skipped a beat. I will always own a bet.
I never doubted John V was going to.
Last year, we never doubted that you were going to do it. I
never thought John V would.
I know you watched the show, and I was like, all right, it's time to poke the bear a little bit here.
I've watched the show because I feel like the more I got to understand how the defense, the more I watch your show, the more I watch, you know, if I watch replays of the Super Bowl, I almost vomit. I literally could almost puke.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't even look at the screen the night of the Super Bowl loss, the next day, going through the casinos and seeing replays.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was just too much. But I've gotten better, man, and I feel stronger. And I know it sounds silly, but guys, that one really, man, that one.
No, dude, I think we get it, man.
Yeah,
it stings. It's no fun losing the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, one team's got to win, one team's got to lose, though.
I got back there to see the Chiefs. We got back there to see you guys, and we were not good enough to finish. We were not good enough to finish. How did you feel about my defensive coordinator getting fired?
Scott?
I mean, I don't know. Defense, it's hard to stay on the top forever. I mean, they had the best defense in the NFL for, 2 or 3 seasons? And players get older, and you lose a step or two here and there on defense, and the rules are slanted against you, and next thing you know, you're just not dominant anymore. And I don't know if that's the coach's fault. I don't know. It's a mixture of things.
Shanahan took over play calling of the defense at some point during the Super Bowl. From what I understand, Wilkes was being far too soft, very conservative when he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And I believe there was some discourse, and I think Shanahan just took on play calling and defense with the help of, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that we knew that night Wilkes was donezo. I was sure of it. But it wasn't the defense. It wasn't, make no mistake, that's not an excuse. But along the way this season, the defense was just not, the front was not married to the secondary, if I'm saying it right. Like, there was not enough stunting. Wilkes was a lot, like during the regular season, he was broadcasting our coverages like really during the Cincy game. Oh my God, it was so bad. The play calling was so bad. And we were losing games there, and it was not 49er defense. And, you know, when you don't stay in the building and promote within, which is what we've done, you know what I mean, since the 2019 season, you could see that asking a gentleman to come in to your organization and essentially just go on cruise control with someone else's scheme. This is the DeMeco Ryan Sala scheme, still lingering from 2019, 2018. Asking Wilkes to come in here and just run it on cruise control, and the guy wanted to add his own to it, and there was just discourse at some point during the regular season, and I think Shanahan knew that this is it. This isn't working for us. We've got to get back to our identity on defense, and I'm happy with the Sorensen, and really excited with the what's his face? Your boy from the Chargers,
Harbaugh?
Staley.
Oh, Staley. Oh, yeah, you guys hired Brandon Staley, right?
We hired Brandon Staley to oversee. I think he's gonna be pretty valuable on the defensive side of things. I think him and Sorensen are gonna work together on defense. I don't know. We'll see, but I don't know, guys. I really am sorry for not responding to your messages.
No, it's all good, dude.
No, you're good, man. I knew you were going through it, man. Nick and anybody in this chat, there's a few people that have watched a football game with me know how I take losses sometimes, man. So, dude, I'm with you. Trust me. I've been there.
I've seen.
To me, man, it ain't like the defensive coordinator. To me, it was the Chiefs had Patrick Mahomes and the 49ers had Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy panicked and dirted a ball that would have given them a first down at the end of and they could have milked the clock down in regulation and kicked a game-winning field goal. And he skied a pass when Chris Jones came through the line there and pressured him and overthrew it in overtime. And Patrick Mahomes rushed and got the first downs and made the plays on 4th and 1 and didn't panic and made the plays.
Gave Patrick the ball back
in the key moments. To me, that's the difference in the game. Is just the two quarterbacks, really.
She turned back and looked at me and she said, that was a no-no. Like, we knew giving Patrick the ball back was a nightmare. Defensively, the scheme going into the Super Bowl was really beautiful. The beginning, we were playing defense, bro. And then Greenlaw just collapsed and tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
And I don't know, bro. This doubt was looming over me. I was getting a negative Nancy at that point. I'm like, holy shit, this is terrible. That could essentially cost us. And we played well in spite of it. We really did. We played good ball in spite of Greenlaw going out. We weren't as aggressive, but we were okay. It got away from us, man. When Chris Jones had that beeline on Brock, oh my God. I just pray Brock got up.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
On that one. He did not get sacked on that. He just errantly fucking whipped it out and
he skied it.
over. Yeah, he did.
You know, and the McDuffie play where he blitzed him and he dirted the ball. He could have sidestepped him when he got him airborne and had a guy open that would have been a first down. That he could have milked the clock down to basically nothing and kicked the field goal. So
sure, in those moments, man. In those moments, like you just see, like you have a goated Super Bowl champion consecutively, and then you have Brock, who is. I'm proud of that kid. He is the final. I think he is our quarterback. I'm not going to doubt him. I think Brock Purdy. We're very fortunate to have Brock, man. I'm happy with him. I didn't really blame him in that one. I really didn't. I blame Shanahan and Lynch for really not valuing adding any value in the offensive line. They had plenty of time to build a stout line, and they never did. And now, after getting your ass beat for the second time, you now want to value the O-line. It blows my mind. Like, I would respect them more if they were just like, this is the way we've done it all year long. This is the way it's going to be. But don't tell me now you value the O-line. Don't value now. Don't value it now after you lost to the Chiefs for the second time. No. Just keep putting these ass players, it was just we lost, man. We lost. You guys played a phenomenal game. You got to play a perfect game against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You got to play a perfect game. And in the Super Bowl, oh, is that tough? We were so close, fellas. And congrats, you guys really, really earned it, man. That defense was phenomenal. That secondary, Sneed and McDuffie. Jesus, guys are good, man. You guys got a great secondary. Jones is tough. My cousin, Karloftis. Jesus, you guys are just good time, man. It was a good time till it wasn't a good time. It was such a good time until it wasn't a good time. But,
yeah, I mean, as far as Super Bowls go, just you can't beat that finish, right? I mean, it might have topped the finish from last year against the Eagles just because of the penalty or whatever, the holding call against the Chiefs kind of like ruined in a lot of people's eyes the way that ended. Chiefs fans were happy with it, but yeah, if Shanahan had gone for it, if Shanahan had gone for it on fourth down there, and they had not gotten it and lost, how would you, as a fan, would you have understood that decision, or would you have been like, we need to get rid of this guy?
No, as a fan, me in particular, yes, I would have understood. You've got to give it everything you've got. I would have understood. I would have understood. I just don't think that Shanahan was willing to be. He wasn't really willing to
yeah, dude. So like,
I think that bothered me a little bit.
So we talked about this last week on the show. Scott and I did. And I know that, dude, I didn't watch any of the mic'd up or any of that stuff when we lost to Tampa, so I get it. But in the mic'd up, they show Shanahan on the sideline, and he thinks for a half a second about going for it, and then he goes, "No, kick it," and like you could tell that he like knew this is the only shot that I have, and he just didn't pull the trigger. So kind of interesting, man. I was just sitting there like, dude, there's no way that you don't try to score the touchdown, because I just in my eyes.
I mean, dude, Kittle had no yards.
Yeah.
Sneed shut down for the most part the right side, or that's the left side, right? He's on the left. McDuffie had Ayuk pretty much blanketed, right? I mean, was that a safety bracket and cornerback? Was that did they bracket Ayuk? I can't remember.
I'd have to watch it again, but it might have been like Reed and
you
McDuffie.
You have to take Ayuk out of the game plan. So they did a phenomenal job doing so. Phenomenal job doing so. So the defense, man, your defense was amazing pretty much for that second half. You guys were lights out in the playoffs, man. That was sweet. The defense is tough, man. I think that the rest of the franchise, the fan base would have folded, wanted to call for his head. But I understand. I understand as a fan why you would go for it. I'm kind of mad that he didn't. We missed the field goal, so I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we going for it? But why are we trusting this kid? I don't want him here anymore. I've had it with that kid all season long missing. So I just don't have faith in a kicker that you picked, so early in the draft. I think that bothered me a lot. I know he was a great kicker, but shit, he wasn't a great kicker. He cost us a lot, but that's not why we lost, man. We didn't execute.
The bigger
We did not execute.
fourth down was taking the ball to start overtime, right?
Yes. Huge mistake. Give you the fucking ball. You take the ball.
Hi. You kick the
I
ball.
didn't want to see them take the ball. I didn't want the Niners to take the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the Chiefs were thrilled. Mahomes and Kelsey, they're like, dude, that's exactly what we were gonna do anyway. So
The players didn't know the rules.
yeah.
Shanahan had to come out and tell them, it doesn't matter whether my players knew or not. We're the ones making the decisions. We knew. Shanahan always wanted to get the ball first and score. If we could score first, as long as we could score, that was his thing going into the Super Bowl. All those meetings and all those interviews, he was like, there were situational questions asked, and Shanahan was like, if we get the ball, if we win the call, we're going to take the ball, we're going to run down the field, and we're going to score first. And then we're just going to that was the game plan. So I believe that the players probably thought we shouldn't. I don't know who was confused. I know Juice was confused. Hell, Juszczyk.
Yeah.
I know there was some the players were conversating on the sideline about confusion, right? It's almost like they didn't realize that we're not going to win the game with that.
Yeah.
They might have thought that the game was won with that field goal, right?
Yeah. No.
No. He gets the ball.
Kyle,
Juszczyk was like, Mahomes, they get the ball.
Juszczyk even says, he goes, they still get the ball even if we score a touchdown. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
One more question for you, John. Does losing this Super Bowl and the way they lost it and the decision to the mistake in overtime to take the ball and not go for the fourth down, whatever you want to call it, do you think that Kyle Shanahan is on a hot seat at all right now?
No, Scott. No, because regardless of that outcome, he's still a good coach. He's still a great coach, great ball play caller. But I do believe that, I thought that if Bill Belichick would have taken the call and actually taken the DC position in San Francisco with a assistant coaching role, that he could help Shanahan kind of grow and make him a little more aggressive in moments for example, that decision right there, having somebody that's been there and done it in your ear, I feel like it could help. It could have helped. But Shanahan he went away from the things we went away from the run, stopped running the ball, which we stopped running the ball last Super Bowl too, right? So
Yeah.
Still can't understand that. That bothered me a lot. Coming out of halftime, we did not run the ball. I think we threw the ball. I don't think we ran the ball. I got to go back. I actually have to see it again. I have to stomach it again, watch it again.
Yeah, but the Bills ran against the Chiefs a lot, and they still lost. But I think part of that's just, I don't think it's a Kyle Shanahan thing. The Ravens, they only ran the ball 6 times to their running backs in the AFC Championship game. So I think that
was absolutely insane to me. That actually away from everything that got them there was wild. It was wild, guys. That really threw me for a. I think the Niners played Kansas City better than Baltimore does.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know why, but I think we gave you a better match. I mean, if that was let's say that was, if it wasn't the Super Bowl and it was just a regular season game, I still think the Niners play you better. This team plays you better. Now, you guys beat the brakes off of us last year during the regular season. We scorched us.
I think your defense was pretty banged up during that game, though.
Yeah, we were screwed up. But nonetheless, it was still.
Yeah,
it
sure.
was still the first time we'd seen each other since 2019, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it was exciting for me because I was talking a lot of shit to Scott. I was really hoping we would win that regular season game. but I mean, this loss, as God knows it kills me. We played good ball versus you guys, and thought that this was one of the weaker offenses that the Chiefs have had in a while. And I really, really thought, you guys, that we were going to be able to capitalize on that, but we did not. So Spags is phenomenal. God, hats off to that dude. I love Spags, man. There are very few coaches in the league I really have a bunch of respect for, but Spags he's awesome. You guys are fortunate to have him. How about we took a crack at it, and you guys hurried up and threw $5 million at him.
Yeah, I saw that. You all were interested in potentially trying to swoop him out from underneath us there.
If you can't beat him, get him. Bring him.
Yeah, can't beat him, hire him, right?
Yeah. I get it. It was a smart move. I was happy we did. We had nothing to lose trying. Fuck it, right? I mean, give it a whirl. But it's Scott. I don't know where Shanahan, how he grows from here, but it's Andy Reid. Like, it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna be up and down. And I think Kyle knew that this was not going to be an easy. Like, this was. I was really proud of how my team really, really approached the Super Bowl. Right, we took the loss and handled the loss. I don't care about holds. I don't believe in holds. I don't care about pulling holds in the Super Bowl. But I do believe this, though. I want to run this by you guys. So the Niners have this crazy front seven, right? And pouring money into that front, and not really valuing much of the secondary. And I feel like in the Super Bowl, when you have a great front seven, you're creating more opportunity for those holds, right? The opponent is going to hold $100 million on this front line, right? He's going to. You're almost. It's going to happen. I really wish that the Niners would value more of the secondary. Get some hitters in the secondary, some corners that can lay down, that can hit you, and incorporate the safeties more. Like, they're too high. Just kind of like value the secondary as much as you value the front. But the Niners are never going to do it. I want to see more from the secondary going into this season. I want to see better talent. I actually want Sneed. I really want Sneed as a 40-man. But I know it'll never happen. I don't think we can afford it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think we need to do something different. The trenches are always going to be the Niners' favorite to draft. They're always. I bet you with 31, Scott, Nick, and Chad, watch the Niners take an edge at 31. Watch, just fucking watch. They'll take an edge.
Yeah, maybe. So we got a couple. I don't know if you're watching the screen here. So Laney says, when the Niners go back to the Super Bowl, stay home, John B, unless it's against the Chiefs. And then John C said, you said it, John B. If you can't beat him, join him. Welcome to Chiefs Kingdom. Do it for the kids and the missus. Getting trolled, man.
It's comedy hour in the chat here. CKL got some professional ball busters here.
Okay, man. They've got. Listen, I mean, you guys earned the right. You earned it. You guys have a hell of a team.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Team where I was busting Paul Hope and them guys and Dion's balls. Have you seen any of that? You need to go on there and look.
What is it?
Old Paul Hope and Dion and them guys. I was trolling them. I gave them 2 or 3 week break here to lick their wounds before I started being a smug asshole and rubbing it in their face a little bit, but I couldn't help myself any longer.
Oh man. Listen, the chat. I love these guys, man. It's all good. You know, a lot of people have noticed that I have this relationship with the Chiefs Kingdom podcast, and they're just like, how do you do it? And I don't think that they really understand that I genuinely love you guys.
Yeah, sure.
They're just great fucking people, and I honestly believe that being Scott's buddy and Bo and Nick, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's kind of therapeutic in a way. I mean, it sucks, but it's like.
But at least my friends are happy.
Yeah, it's like at least my friends on the other end of this are happy. They're gonna bust my balls. The chat's gonna bust my balls. But at the end of the day, it's like I just value my friendship. I love football. I love my Niners, and I wouldn't want to lose to another quarterback, if that makes any sense, right? It sounds silly, right? But like, you're gonna lose to Andy Reid, Kelsey, Patrick, Spags, Jones, Karlofton. Just lose to a handful of ballers, man. Like, that's the only way I can make sense of it and kind of lick my wounds, right? Is to really acknowledge the opponent, not complain about the refs, because it was a clean call, man. It was a clean call game. I'm not making excuses. Never believe that. I'm not gonna make excuses for this loss. We just didn't finish. Patrick got the ball in a moment that everybody knows. Every night, 600 Niner fans at this watch party, everybody turns around and just looks at one another and is like, no. I hear one guy screaming, no. You never give him the ball. Like, I'm in the corner shaking my head in utter disgust because I am starting to really sweat. I'm like, holy shit, this is it. Like,
I kind of wish I had been there to see it.
Listen, man, I'm going to give you guys a feel of what Vegas was like, right? I get to Vegas Saturday. There are more 49er fans than Chiefs fans in the entire state of Nevada. There were just Niner fans everywhere, bro. And when after the loss, the streets were quiet. There were still no Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
But there were no Niner fans either. Vegas was silent. As far as like post Super Bowl parties, it was some of the biggest losses these bars had never anticipated. Like, they took a huge loss because nobody was out partying. Nobody was out celebrating. There weren't enough Chiefs fans out there because it's West Coast, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be saturated in Niners, but it was silent, bro. Silence. My wife was like, holy smokes, like, these guys are going to be disgusted. Like, they were probably anticipating a big turnout regardless. And it was just like the casinos were jumping and bumping. Like, when you went into the casino after the Super Bowl, everybody in there was not a fan. There were no football fans. They are just gamblers in Vegas having a blast. Just being gamblers in Vegas, right? It was like, my wife was like, this is the most Twilight shit I have ever. We're in the Twilight Zone right now. Like, the Chiefs just won another Super Bowl. You would never fucking know it here. It was crazy.
Well, it's not only was there a lot of Niners fans, but I mean, it's Raiders territory too, right? So
yeah.
I mean, there were fans from everywhere. Vegas is a melting pot of NFL football fans anyway. So there are tons of people out wearing jerseys of every different team. I mean, God, you've never seen so many people during Super Bowl week. So many people wearing different jerseys because Vegas doesn't have, I mean, if anything, there's just one melting pot of a ton of fans. But
right,
you guys, man, I mean, the fans, I was giving props. Lainey, this is for you, honey. I wore no Niners gear till Thursday. I haven't worn any Niners gear since.
Yeah.
Took Laney's advice.
My slippers are about the closest thing to it, and they're my pride and joy. But I honestly, I gave props to Kansas City fans that won. But for whatever reason, Scott, I could not respond to your message. Nick, I couldn't. I saw these young kids. They were wearing Kansas City gear. They were laid out. I was like, hey, guys. The moral of the story is the props I paid were to no child older than 13. There were no adults. I could not give props to any adults. I saw these young kids. They were in their glory, man. They were celebrating after the Super Bowl, running around the kids' zone at this hotel. And I just told those guys, I'm like, hey, guys, big Niner fan here. Congrats. And they were like, you guys.
I should have gave the adults the props.
You should have smacked them upside the back of their heads. What you should have done, but
the ski ball he was holding and just throw it at him from behind. I was like, you little shit. Like, they looked like innocent kids, guys. And the moment I introduced myself as a Niner fan, their horns grew. I thought they were going to jump. They're like, you guys. They started laughing, and then it just vanished. My wife was laughing at me so hard, Scott.
Like, oh, I'm glad I did that.
It was, I don't know, man. It's so weird. It's weird as shit happened to me. I just fucking lost, man. But yeah, guys.
How was that, dude? How was that sphere in person with all the NFL stuff on it?
Oh my god, dude. Like it looks at the plane, like when we're flying over, like we're ascending, right? And it looks up and it like blinks at you. It like acknowledges the plane. It's so cool, guys. You have no idea. Like the Niners helmet, this Chiefs helmet. It was for the last 24 hours. It was like Chiefs helmet, Niners helmet, Chiefs helmet, Niners helmet. All of the what am I trying to say? All of the promoters and everything, like all these companies. But when it led up to the Super Bowl, dude, it was helmet, Niners helmet, Chiefs helmet, Niners helmet, Chiefs helmet, and it was so cool. Like, it was awesome, man. That's a really phenomenal thing to have in your city. It's really sweet. I think every city should have a sphere. It's badass. I mean, it's so badass.
Well, they're only like $2 billion.
Phenomenal. Yeah, they are, man. But dude, we went inside and watched this. I don't know. It was like like the Earth. It was like the Earth something. Dude, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I loved it. It was amazing. You just never experienced anything like it in that. The contour of the sphere and the animations and stuff, they're so lifelike. It's absolutely phenomenal, man. You guys got to try it out if you go. You got to go. Everybody should go to the sphere at least once, man. Go and see something there. A show, whatever it is, a concert. Just do it. Just do it.
I was living out there in Vegas last April or March, and we went out there and visited them. They had just finished it, I think, and so it was on and off some of the time out there. I want to say like we were driving on the highway and it was like a big eyeball, and it looked freaking super creepy. This just like eye, and it was like moving, looking all over the place.
It's like 8K or it's like 8K.
Yeah.
Every image on
wow.
that sphere is just like phenomenal detail, and it's so vivid and bright. When you're there, it lights up the city, man. It's sweet. It really is sweet. And that stadium is sweet too. And you guys got to win in a division opponent stadium. That is awesome.
And pop champagne in the Raiders locker room. It don't get no better than so.
Yeah, before they ever won there too in the postseason. They've never won a postseason game there or played in one.
Yeah. I mean, it was a hell of a trip, you guys, man. Hell of an experience.
Yeah, Vegas is dope.
Well, I see you, my man. I appreciate you, brother. Much love to the chat. You guys are awesome. Listen, I wished I would have had the balls to come forward sooner, but I was just a pussy. I couldn't.
Yeah, it's all
I
good,
was
man.
such
We
a
get it.
sap ass.
Yeah, don't sweat it, man. There are no worries on our end at all. So appreciate you calling in, man. It was good talking to you.
You got it, guys. Hey, Wishbo, I got to get a hold of Bo. He sent me some cards and a couple stickers for the channel. Unfortunately, I got the stickers from the channel the moment I walked through the door from Vegas. God damn it, Bo. You son of a bitch.
Good timing.
Son of a jack. He knew what he was doing, bro. He sent those by messenger. I swear. It was the timing was impeccable. But yeah, let's get this barbecue sauce on the schedule.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.
buddy.
You're phenomenal. Congrats to everybody. You guys are Super Bowl champs once again. And unfortunately, it was at the feet of my Niners. But nonetheless, I respect you guys. I love you guys. Always, you guys are my boys, man. Good dudes, just dudes, man. And I truly appreciate this opportunity to come on here and kind of lick my wounds. And it feels good, though, actually talking about it out loud. I'm ready to get back to podcasting, Scott. So I'll get your Tuesdays back in order, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Fucking name.
Yep. If you need a guest co-host every once in a while to break it up with just Nick, let me know.
I really do. I'm gonna need a guest co-host. So come on the show whenever you feel like it's an open invitation, brother. You got a seat at my table no matter what. Always.
Sounds good.
Yeah, dope. And now that me and Scott have your phone number, just prepare to get some fucked up memes on your text.
You know what? Send them, bro.
I feel like I've already got John V's number. I remember when I got John V's number, I was like, damn, this is what it feels like to have a celebrity's phone number. So
Stop, man. Actually, a lot of people thought I looked like Shanahan in Vegas. I got a lot of Shanahan comparisons when I was in Vegas, man. It was weird.
Wow,
Really weird.
maybe you look different in person than you do on the internet, but I don't see
Yeah,
that
it
one.
probably does, man. I think it does because it did it to me in Pittsburgh too.
I did a call to a guy at work, and I was wearing a Chiefs shirt because we just won the Super Bowl. He's like, "You're wearing a Chiefs shirt, but you look like Brock Purdy." I was like, "Oh, the guy that looks like Lee Harvey Oswald? Great."
yeah, I know. Some people making some weird comparisons there. But thanks for calling, John. It was good to hear from you, my man. Take it easy, bro.
Talk to you later, bro.
Later, guys. Take care.
All right, bye.
John V, ladies and gentlemen.
Nico, you're here just in time. Nico,
Nick,
you
just in time to miss John V calling in. I believe that's the first call-in we've ever had to the show. So John V gets to pencil his name in the CKL record books as the first live caller to the show. Man, I hated it. Like the Chiefs had to win at like the expense of John V. I wish it would have been like the Cowboys or somebody else. Yeah. I really, really do. The Eagles was a lot sweeter beating them. But good to see our man Nick. What's up? We'll hope both should be back next week, right?
Yeah.
I think he said he'll be back
on the 11th.
He'll be back, I believe, next Wednesday. So maybe we'll have some Chris Jones contract sign a deal done with him to talk about. Maybe the Chiefs will make some other moves. We'll be another week closer to the draft and maybe some of these other teams in the AFC, some of the prime competition for the Chiefs, which I guess maybe you could include the Cleveland Browns, Nico's Browns in that group. So thanks again for everybody who watched the show tonight. Make sure you click like or subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a family member. Help spread the word. Chiefs, 4-time Super Bowl champs, Super Bowl 58 champions. Thanks again to everybody in the chat for showing up. Chris and John C. and Laney and our man Nico and Cole and Kevin and the rest. Really appreciate y'all. Click like, click subscribe. We'll be back next week to talk more Chiefs offseason and NFL happenings. And until then, let's go Chiefs.
Let's go Chiefs.